So I've been foiling on the Slingshot Hypermiler board for about 3 years now, and I've been interested in making a transition to a pocket board for a number of different reasons. Obviously, a 3-foot board would have a big upside for travel, if that word even exists anymore.
Oh no.
And to be honest, I was a little concerned that the transition to such a small board, that it may have a significant learning curve associated with it. So I decided on purchasing the Axis 94 centimeter tray carbon foil board, and that's what you're going to see in today's episode. And even though there are a few adjustments necessary to make the transition, I hope that this video can ease some of those concerns if a pocket board is the direction that you're thinking of taking your free ride foiling. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I would love to hear your comments below about riding microfoil boards. So let's go ahead and get started with the grading checklist.
Feel that bass, we gon' shake up this place. Say pick up that pace. Yeah, we got no time to waste. Everybody say.
Obviously, when dealing with a board around 3 feet in length and weighing it at around 4.5 pounds, you are going to have a huge advantage for not only air travel, but also with storage, car travel, and even transport on kite location. Let's not spend much time here because this is a no-brainer and it has a big upside. I honestly was expecting this aspect to be one of the most disappointing and the largest to overcome. You often hear that with a pocket board you have to come directly up on your foil, but sometimes that's just not possible, such as when you're foiling in light winds, or when you're using a kite such as the Peak 4, which has very little lift, especially in those light wind conditions. So I've now used my smaller 900 centimeter front wing and 1500 centimeter front wing, and I've experienced no issues in the water start when coming up on foil. The Axis tray has actually been very forgiving on the surface of the water, surprisingly. And sure, it's not as floaty as the Hypermiler board, but it's not as large of a gap as I was expecting. What's actually more of an adjustment on the water start is just getting that board into the proper position. Considering how short and light the board is with such low volume, it reacts much more to the water's surface, and it can require a backhand to stabilize the board in the proper position when getting ready to send the kite. I'm currently using just a front 2-strap setup, but adding the 3rd strap would probably eliminate the need for this though. Okay, if the water start is a mild nuisance in comparison to a larger volume board, then this aspect will more than make up for the difference. This is by far one of the cooler feelings I've had on the water. It feels like you are riding on nothing but a hydrofoil. It's as if there isn't even a board underneath your feet. Now it's possible that not seeing a board in front of your feet will take some time to adjust for riding height, and you may initially breach occasionally, but personally I found out that with my riding style and habits, I don't actually use much vision as much as I use feel, and this was absolutely no issue for adjustment at all. There's also a complete elimination of a feeling of board swing weight, which gives that feeling of freedom that I've really never experienced on a foil. Everything is more carvy, more direct, and honestly, it's just more fun. But how does such a small surface work with foot switches on transitions? I'm just not sold yet. Okay, now I'm sold. Even though I did miss my very first foot switch air jibe and the board did feel minimally more unsteady under my feet than my previous setup, it really didn't take that long to get comfortable moving my feet around on the board. And within 5 minutes, it actually wasn't an issue at all. So if you are working on your down loop transitions and you're having difficulty with keeping line tension in your kite, I do understand how there could be some hesitation because the pocket board is not optimal for riding for prolonged distances on the surface or for performing surface jibes. But what you are able to do on such a small board is pump the foil more efficiently, buying you more time when the loss of line tension occurs or when the winds drop. And this keeps you off the surface of the water more easily. I'm also hopeful that the lack of swing weight will increase my ability for progression to air tacks, especially when using the Peak 4 or other kites that sit so deep in the wind window, but not quite yet. I would not have expected that my greatest hurdles with the pocket board would be with me not even riding it. So my current setup is around 11 pounds with the Axis tray and the delta hydrofoil. When you crash or when you fall off, many times that board will lay on its side and it will start tracking upwind. So gone are the days of never having to body drag to my hydrofoil. This is just something to remember and not to be surprised with. And also a consideration is that if you hydrofoil using a foil kite and you need to self-rescue, there's just not much flotation to pack up the kite and to float back using the board as a vessel. This makes it even more important to make sure you're using a PFD and looking at creative ways to get back to shore with your setup. I wouldn't go as far as saying these considerations are a deterrent from going to the pocket board direction, but they are potential occurrences you should be familiar with. As I stated, I am currently using a 2 front strap setup, but am optimistic that by utilizing the rear foot strap, this board will be fantastic for boosting. My personal preference is to keep the back foot free and able to move around, so this will take a little getting used to, but I am a narrow stance foiler and I really felt at home on this board almost immediately. Which brings the question, is a pocket board for everyone? And the simple answer is no. It's not a board for an absolute beginner due to its decreased stability and its lack of water taxing. Also, it's obviously not a setup for racing or for riding super juiced. And if you are not hitting your air transitions with regularity, it is also probably not the best option for you. But if you are a free ride kite foiler who enjoys a more minimalistic approach and playfulness in a hydrofoil, then I would highly recommend at the least to adding one to your board quiver. If you are unfamiliar with pocket boards or what to expect with them, I hope that you found this episode helpful. I am personally sold on them, and even after my very first session with the Axis tray, I asked my buddies on the beach, why would I even use a different board? It really far exceeded my expectations in ease of use, and it increased my enjoyment out on the water. Thank you for watching, and thanks for letting me use this platform as my outlet for wind sports development and discovery. Check out Green Hat Kiteboarding for their lineup of pocket boards and for your other wing and board sports needs. And we'll see you next time on the OK Kiteboarder.
Feel that bass, we gon' shake up this place. Say pick up that pace. Yeah, we got no time to waste. Everybody say feel that bass, yeah, we gon' shake up this place. Pick up that pace. Yeah, we got no time to waste. Say